Grater with her tune there called Careful here on Kiwi. And the video for that one was actually filmed in Paris, and it was around that time that Flip was putting together her European cookbook of her tour around all kinds of places in Europe. And now she's back in New Zealand celebrating the release of the cookbook with a tour around New Zealand. And she joins us in Christchurch this morning. Morning, Flip.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Yeah, but was that when you did that video for Careful? Was that around the time that you were actually collecting the recipes and the stories for the European cookbook?
No, that was done a bit more recently. The book was actually, the strange thing is, the book was actually written about a tour I did 3 whole years ago, and I've been back to Europe another sort of 3 times since then. But it's just one of those things that the publishing industry takes a little while, and with the turnover of writing a book and all that. But so now I read the book, and it's all the relationships that I formed on that tour. Those people have since become good friends of mine, so it's quite fun to look back and see how I felt about them at first.
And so that 3 years to get that book out. So it sounds like a bit of a I suppose a learning curve in learning the two disciplines really that are quite different. What writing, writing actual books and writing songs.
Yeah, it is different. I actually wrote this one at the same time as I wrote as I was writing an album. And so it was kind of this nice contrast. I sort of locked myself at home for 3 months, and every time I felt like writing long form, I would write stories for the book, and every time that would become a bit too much and I wanted to be a bit more vague and poetic, then I would write songs. So it's a nice little contrast.
Yeah. So the stories inside the book, they go through your experiences of meeting people, but of course it's got to be centered around food, yeah?
Yeah, well, my life is, because I'm just a bit crazy like that. So always when I'm on tour, everything's always revolving around food anyway. I plan my days and sound checks around times to eat, and I make sure that I've got time to visit if there's like a cool vegetarian place in the town that I'm in. I make sure that there's time to go and visit it and things like that. So it's not a major stretch for me to revolve my tours around food anyway. But on that tour, obviously I knew I was going to be writing a book, so I kind of used the book as a way to get cool stuff. Like I would sort of arrive somewhere and say, hey, look, I'm writing a book about food and touring, and can I get a free tasting tour? So then as a result, I got cool stuff like to go truffle hunting and tasting handmade chocolates and things like that in Italy. So it was an amazing trip. It was really cool.
And I would imagine Europe makes it easier to be food-centric, because doesn't for many, I'm not saying it's a gross generalisation, but for many Europeans, life does revolve around food and eating together.
Yeah, it's true, and I think just the appreciation of food is pretty high. I mean, it's pretty high in New Zealand too, but
it's getting better here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But then, I played at the Christchurch Wine and Food Festival on the weekend, which was a fantastic festival, but it was called a Wine and Food Festival, and it was totally a wine festival. There were almost no food producers there. There were no handmade, there were no artisanal food producers there. The food stalls were crammed in a corner, and the whole space was actually taken up by wine producers. So, I think we've got a wee way to go. But I love touring in Italy because people are really just so obsessed with produce that they don't even mind that I'm a vegetarian. They value a tomato as much as they value a steak.
Easy to be vegetarian or vegan on your travels around Europe?
It's a little tricky sometimes in France, but I'm learning tricks. I've done 4 European tours now, so I'm just starting now to learn some really good tricks. I know where to go and what to ask for and little things like that. So I'm getting better all the time with that sort of thing.
Yeah. So tell us about the tour. You've been on the road for a few weeks now around New Zealand. Where have you been?
Well, I've been doing a book tour with Ruben Bonner from Emerald City. We've been doing a really fun little jaunt around the country because I did the Fly My Pretties tour And then that finished, and 2 days later I started my own tour to promote this book. So we've done Wellington, Nelson, Westport, Oamaru, Christchurch, Dunedin. Yeah.
So that would have covered the election time as well. Where were you election night?
Yeah, we actually voted in Westport.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was quite novel, actually. In fact, we arrived at the venue and we didn't realise that the venue was kind of way out in the middle of nowhere, and we didn't have a car because we'd flown to Westport. So we had to borrow it was our priority before everything else. So we had to borrow the venue owner's truck, basically, and drive 20 k's into town to go and vote, and then ask around the locals to try to find where a polling booth was. It was a nice little adventure, and I really felt like I'd really properly exercised my right to vote.
And what Westport or West Coast went Labour as well, didn't it? I think it was one of the only places in the country that so.
Did they?
Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, it was pretty funny because on stage I was making jokes about having the blues and being kind of depressed because I was in between songs. I was getting given updates on what was going on, and I'd made it pretty clear from the stage that I was a Green voter.
Yeah.
But then everyone that we hung out with after the show were blue, and so it was an interesting place to be for that, because if I'd been anywhere else I probably would have been really angry at all national voters, but I actually had a blast with all these cool coasters, and we all just kind of put that aside and had a really good time together.
Cool,
yeah, so
cool.
It was good.
Yeah, I was quite keen to hear about that, because it's an interesting night to be playing, where the minds are sort of all over the show, thinking about where the country's headed, but also enjoying some entertainment at the same time. And it's quite a weird time.
Yeah, really.
So you are making your way to Auckland and Lee this week.
Yep, tomorrow night is the Auckland show. We're playing at Tobacco, which is going to be fun because I've never played there before. It's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. We start at 8:30, and tickets are available on undertheradar.co.nz. And then we play Raglan on Thursday night, and then we play Lee on Saturday night.
Great, so a few opportunities around Auckland to see you, and a good opportunity to pick up the album, but also obviously the book as well, which is on sale at the gigs. And anywhere else, if people can't make it to the gigs, where can they find the book?
The book is available online from Amplifier and Fish Pond, but also in all bookstores nationwide. If you can't find it in a bookstore, just ask them. They should have access to it. It should be pretty widely available by now.
Sweet. And of course, you can always find Flip on Facebook as well, and all the links to those places as well.
Yeah, totally. I'm always ranting about it on Facebook, so check it out.
Yeah. All right. Hey, nice to catch up, Flip, and enjoy the gigs this week.
Cheers, Wammo.
Got a track now from Flip Grater. Everybody else is Busy Mess on Kiwi.